This one. Looking to resume the in-camera or a regular meeting of council for January the 9th, 7 p.m. There, all of a sudden it got louder. How did that happen? Anyways, looking for approval of our agenda this evening.
So moved.
All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. We do have 2 council members missing this evening, both on approved leaves for the time being, and they pass along their regrets for the meetings. Public participation is right now. If there's anybody in the audience that has something to say, we welcome you to the podium. Mr. Parkinson, you know the routine.
So I'm here, surprisingly by myself, to talk about Royal Roads. I think the city should be taking a very active role. Maybe you are, and it's just not public. Maybe there's more going on than is known about publicly. I read the stuff on the website that says it's a process between the DND and the First Nations. And you know what? That's fine. We all kind of support resolution of the issues with the First Nations, and let's let them get on with what they need to get on with. It's not a surprise that DND doesn't need that land and is moving it forward. But I think the city should be in there as a participant, loud and clear. I mean, you should make it clear it's a cherished part of our city, as you all know, very much used, very much loved, and I don't think that a process that involves that chunk of property within the middle of this city should go on without the city being well and truly involved. I think there's just too many questions. And I don't know anything about land claims. I don't know anything about most things, but presumably at the end of the day, there's some kind of a deal where the federal government says, well, we can give you this in compensation for whatever we owe you, and the First Nations say, well, there's that much value in it, and so that we think that's a good deal. But I don't see how anybody can value that land within the city without knowing what the city has to say about it. I mean, it can't presumably develop without the city. If presumably they're thinking of development, it'd be lovely to think they're going to turn it over to the First Nations so it could stay the way it was for a couple of 100 years. But I suspect, that's the way it is. We're all happy, and I should go home and shut up. But I suspect that's not what's going to be going on. There's a number of issues that you may know. I certainly don't quite understand. For instance, what I call the Dola Cavendish estate, the lands, is that part of what's being talked about, or is that not? Is that part of DND? That's not. So that would stay and be probably turned over at a later date. Let's be, frankly, I don't see they need it. The foreshore, the bird sanctuary, the 300-foot setback from the Esquimalt Lagoon that applies on federal lands. Does it still apply if they turn it over to somebody else? I don't know. The city should, because the First Nations is disposing of the land and is talking to the First Nations first, I don't think that precludes the city standing up and saying, wait, we'd like a really big park in there, or we'd like some kind of park. And I walk there quite frequently, and I understand, and some of it's going to get developed, and that's reality, unfortunate, but reality. But still, I think the city should get its oar in the water and find out what's going on and make it very clear to all parties that, they can't just develop willy-nilly, and it's going to have to be done in a way that conforms with the rest of the city and is acceptable to the city. So I'm here to encourage you guys to make a fuss.
Thank you. Any other members of the public? Okay. We shall move on. Mayor's message. There are a few things that are coming forward. Still looking for any nominations for the British Columbia Community Achievement Awards that closes on January the 20th. The information is online. There is also a Public Safety, Compassion, and Community Integration meeting coming up in the early part of February at Alex Goulden Hall. That is also online. And I think for those of you in our community that took part in the Radon exercise, that program is coming to a conclusion the end of this month, so there is information available as to where and when you have to turn in your devices, so that will also be online as soon as I get it to our communications person. Any other members of council for notifications or upcoming events? Seeing none, we shall move on. Adoption of 2 sets of minutes from the regular meeting of council December the 19th and public hearing minutes also from the December 19th. Second. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Looking for receipt of 1 set of information on the report of the public hearing on also December 19th.
Move receipt, Your Worship.
All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. We're moving on to section 5.1, an email that was received looking for a letter of support from our community and council for the Western Lacrosse application for a community access grant for 2017.
I'll move the recommendation, Your Worship.
Any questions, comments from council? Councillor Day?
Just one question. I just wanted to be sure that they were up to date in paying any of their invoices that might be outstanding at West Shore Parks and Rec.
I did not hear anything to the negative.
Okay, thank you.
Anything further? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. New business, planning and land use, item number 6.1, report from Deputy Director of Planning, secondary suite and accessory dwelling unit permits. Actually, Deputy, are you taking this one? I mean, Director.
Thank you, Your Worship. Land use bylaw permits secondary suites in various zones. However, permission is conditional on the issuance of either a Class 1 or Class 2 permit. The land use bylaw requires that these permits be renewed annually. Staff recommends in the report before you tonight that starting this year, the annual renewal fee of the $50 be waived, as the cost of time involved in processing this relatively small amount is not commensurate with the amount charged. With the removal of the requirement to pay the renewal fee, less time will be allocated to processing renewals. The business license renewal fee was waived in 2016 for a similar reason, and staff feel it's appropriate to propose a change that would further benefit the cutting of red tape associated with permit renewals. Staff is also suggesting that the initial application fee be increased to better cover the costs of the initial application process, as well as to offset some of the loss of revenue from the renewals, and to ensure that the fees continue to help fund the cost of administering the city's programming of licensing and inspecting secondary suites. Staff recommends that the report titled Secondary Suite and Accessory Dwelling Unit Permit Fee and Renewals, dated January 4th, 2017, be received for information, and that Council give consideration of first, second, and third readings of bylaw numbers 1664 at the appropriate time on tonight's Council agenda. Thank you.
Councillor Logan, your area?
Thank you, Your Worship. Through you to the Director, can you refresh my memory with the business license? Businesses are required to still touch base on a yearly basis, are they not? Just to ensure that their information is up to date and still a business.
That is correct.
And so would you envision a similar type of process with this as well?
Yes. The only change we're proposing at this time is to remove the fee that's required for renewals. We're keen on looking at overhauling the whole secondary suite permitting regime to make it simpler for the homeowners as well as the city. But we look to be doing that when staff resources become available, potentially in 2017.
And I guess just my final question, Your Worship, is just wondering where the $500 figure came from. My just thinking outside is just don't want to make it prohibitive from someone to come and register, because it's actually a benefit for the municipality to know where the suites are, and I just don't want it to be a deterrent, I guess is what I'm saying.
All of our fees, as you know, must be related to the cost of processing a task or application. In this case, it was difficult because secondary suite applications, there's a huge range in terms of the effort that staff have to put into the processing of the applications. Oftentimes today, they come in with a building permit application. So there's a series of steps between the planning and building department, and we did a rather rough estimate as to what that entails in terms of staff time, and that's where we came up with the $500 amount. Suffice to say, we think it's greater than the current fee that's charged, so that's why we proposed increasing it.
Thank you. Your Worship, I'll move the recommendation, which is to receive the report and to consider first, second, third readings.
Any discussion from other members of council? Councillor Nault?
Yeah, I kind of tend to agree that the $500 fee might discourage people from registering. How many illegal suites has the city shut down or enforced upon in the last year?
Off the top of my head, I'm not aware of any secondary suites which we took legal action against. Certainly there was issues that arose from complaints or things that city staff became aware of that we followed up on. But in terms of how we deal with illegal suites and suites that present a health and life safety issue, that's something we'd like to look at through the review of the system so that we can more effectively take enforcement action.
Councillor Day?
I was just wondering, as the point had come up about it being kind of a deterrent to people registering their suites, is there an option for a resident to pay that fee over time with the city?
Currently, staff would be requiring the fee to be paid at one lump sum. I'm not aware of a mechanism that we can employ without causing additional staff effort to maintain that.
Just thinking on that. So most of the secondary suite applications that come in are coming in with building permit new.
That is correct.
Anybody else? Call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? One opposed. Motion carries. Next item is 6.2, Finance and Admin. West Shore Parks and Recreation membership withdrawal notice from CRD through the Juan de Fuca electoral area. No, this one doesn't. This one doesn't require money or that kind of a thing. So this is probably information. I think we're okay.
Yeah, Your Worship, this is on for council's information only. It's just a notice that the CRD is withdrawing, or the electoral area within the CRD is withdrawing from the West Shore Park and Rec function. That's all it is.
Okay. Any questions on this from Councillor?
Just out of curiosity, what is the financial impact of this on the recreation center?
Minimal.
I don't have the numbers available to council at this point in time. I suppose I could have looked up the electoral area requisition and then took a guesstimate, but I think it's going to be fairly insignificant. They are a very low contributor to the overall function, and then split amongst Langford and Colwood and Machosen and View Royal. It's not going to be a massive hit on Colwood.
Follow up at all, Councillor Nault? You're good? Motion to receive?
Second.
All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Into bylaws, folks. Number 7.1, bylaw number 1659 for final reading.
Move final.
All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. 7.2, bylaw number 1662, first, second, and third readings for Colwood Main Sewer Local Area Service Bylaw Establishment and Loan Authorization 598.
Move introduction, Your Worship.
All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. All those in, or I'm looking at you with your finger in the air. Comments, questions? Councillor Day.
Thanks. As I was reading the agenda, it just occurred to me that I would like to just check in with staff that there is a sewer line available for this property.
I'm not seeing engineering with us.
No, Your Worship, I'm not aware of. I can't answer that question at this point in time. We'll just have to get back to council. I'm sorry.
Okay, thank you.
Anything further? Call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Item 7.3, bylaw number 166. Oh, pardon me. Back up. We have third readings on 1662.
Move third reading.
All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Now on to bylaw number 1663. Again, first, second, and third.
Move introduction, Your Worship.
All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Any questions, comments? Same question? So staff will get that information. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Bylaw number 1664, again, first, second, and third readings for Colwood Secondary Suite and Accessory Dwelling Unit.
Move introduction, Your Worship.
All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Any other comments, questions that haven't already been? Councillor Nault?
Thank you. I'd like to move an amendment to reduce the application fee to $200, so we won't be increasing it.
Any seconder? Seeing none. Moving ahead. Any further questions on second reading?
Sorry, just a brief comment to let you know I feel that we do spend a good amount of city resources dealing with problems associated with secondary suites, whether it's parking on cul-de-sacs, and ensuring life and safety issues in some of the older ones that we have. So I feel that the not having a renewal fee but having the upfront cost probably makes a lot of sense. So financially, a lot of people are looking at them as mortgage helpers, which is great, but there is a cost to the city in doing that. So this should allow most people to not be subsidizing other people's mortgage helpers.
Anything further? Councillor Nault?
Yes, I think by increasing the fee, you're just encouraging people that want to have a secondary suite to not register. So the argument that this will help reduce enforcement costs is totally, I think, out to lunch. The enforcement costs will still be there with the illegal suites, and they're not paying a penny.
Your Worship, can I just comment on this particular issue? I think, I know staff are going to be putting forward a recommendation in the budget process this year to hire a consultant to completely revamp the secondary suites policy. I know the Director of Planning and myself both feel that it's a bit outdated and needs to be updated, but more importantly, I don't believe that it's really meeting our needs anymore in terms of number one, promoting an affordable housing option, providing a mortgage helper for people who are particularly building new homes or buying homes in this market condition right now. But I also think that there's a better approach to managing and administering secondary suites, and that's likely through the building permitting process. And so we think that this fee this year is just going to be a temporary measure until we go through this new policy review with council, if council approves the authorization of some consulting money to get on with doing this work for 2017. We don't think we've got the staff resources to do this. We're in a very busy building boom at the moment, and we're into an OCP that is always taxing regardless of whether it's a busy season or not. And so we think we need to get on with this, and the quickest way to do that is to bring a consultant in. It'll be in the range of about $10,000, but I don't want to get into budget discussions now. I just wanted to let you know that this is in my opinion, this is a stopgap measure to get us through 2017. And following that policy review, if there is a fee, it'll be a fee that'll be clearly justifiable to council and defendable, and one that you'll want to continue with.
Councillor Logan?
Thank you, Your Worship. Through you to the CAO. So that brings up a question, I guess, following up on Councillor Arnault's point about the fee. Then why not simply just leave the $200 application fee where it's at, and eliminate the renewal fee if we're simply going to be changing up the process anyways, probably in 2018? So the renewal fee seems to be the issue in taking up the staff time and processing every year. Get rid of that. I'm just thinking of the changes. If we're going to be implementing changes anyways, we're going to be probably scrapping the $500 with going to a development permit fee or whatever.
Your Worship, we don't know what the new fee would be, or if there'd be a fee at all. In fact, it could be worse. It could be $1,000, and maybe this is just a slow process of escalating it up. We have no idea, and so if council's choice is to keep it at 200, or that's fine. We made a recommendation to try and capture what we thought was a closer actual cost to the municipality, but it's and I say that it's an actual cost to the municipality under the existing conditions. So under the existing processes we have, this is a closer representation to what it costs us to process. But if council doesn't want to do that this year, that's fine. We can carry on with the 200, and it'll get addressed through this review in 2017, hopefully.
Question to staff: if we were to move to the 500, or if it stays at 200, that money, or that is coming in on new applicants. It's not existing applicants, correct? So it is.
That's correct. Yes.
Okay, so it's just adding to that, to the fee structure on that one. Anything else from anyone? Call the question then on second reading. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Which way were you?
Move third.
All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. That concludes this evening's agenda.
Move adjournment.
All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you.